Hey, what's going on, peeps? My name is MrRhexx and we're back with some Fallout 4. I want to talk a little bit about Skyrim versus Fallout 4, and I'm just gonna hit two relatively small topics because I don't really want to make it too broad. And I mean, obviously, full disclaimer, I still haven't finished Fallout 4. I'm extremely obsessed with it, but I'm still working on it. I haven't really done much of the main quest or really much of any actual main quest line. I have done a little bit of the Minutemen, and I've done a lot of the Minutemen, and I've done a little bit of the Brotherhood of Steel. But you know, I'm in that mode where, like, if I find something random in the middle of the street and I'll if it's a quest, I'll do it like immediately. Like, I'm getting really immersed, and I'm not like, I feel like I'm scatterbrained when I play that game. I'm just trying to do everything. But I wanted to talk about some of the differences and, you know, what game might do something better than the other, and so on and so forth. And first, I want to talk about the loot system, because this is something that completely blew my mind with Fallout. Fallout does the loot system a mile better, if that's even a saying, a lot better than Skyrim does. And it's so beautiful because, look, I'm a loot hoarder. I love looting people. I love RPGs because of that. I just love getting gold and getting crazy items and legendaries and rares, and love it. And the thing that Fallout does amazing is that every single thing you loot in this game has value. So every time I click that damn button to see what's in someone's carcass, it's good. And this is something that Skyrim doesn't do very well. So there's a lot of useless items in Skyrim, right? I mean, you're never going to use that troll skull, ever. I guarantee you. Maybe if you're like a little bit creative or maybe a little bit crazy, you're gonna use it as some kind of, you know, furnishing for your house, like as a decorative skull somewhere. Okay, granted, you can do that, but honestly, you're not gonna sell it, and it's gonna weight you down if you carry it. So there's really no actual real use for those items, and there's a ton of useless items just like that in Skyrim. And let's be frank, you cannot sell them because they're not worth anything. So there's nothing to do with them. And the thing about Fallout is that you can scrap every single item you find. Doesn't matter how useless it might seem to be. It could be a plate, it could be a fork, it could be a cup, like a cup of coffee. Anything, you can scrap it to its most basic components and then use those basic components to make, you know, things like improving your base, or making armor, or making weapons, or improving those weapons. I mean, there's so much you can do with just the shitty items that you can find everywhere. And I feel like that's one of the greatest things, at least compared to the other Bethesda games that Fallout 4 has done. I would consider that a massive improvement on the series. The fact that I feel like I can loot somebody and I'll always get something good. Like, think about it this way. When you're playing Skyrim, when you find a corpse or a chest and you open that corpse or chest, because you open corpses, I guess, what are you the most excited to find? Like, what is the item that you find in bulk that you are the most excited to find? I mean, gold, of course, and you find caps in Fallout, but other than that, what is it really? For me, it's the gems. Like, if I could do a really hard dungeon, but as long as in the end I get a gem, I'm happy, right? It could be a sapphire, it could be a flawless ruby, it could be a diamond, doesn't matter. Whichever it is, if I get one of those, I'm happy. And the reason is that they have value, they don't weigh anything, and you can actually use them for decoration. I mean, you guys saw my house in Skyrim, the video that I made, and if you haven't seen that, you should go ahead and see it. It's I collect the diamonds and sapphires in Skyrim, and I put them all into a pile, and I call it my hoard. And it looks amazing, and I love collecting them because there's so much you can do with them. And I mean, I guess if you don't want to collect them, you can just sell them, and they sell for a lot of money, so they're very, very worth it. So I love getting them, right? But the thing about Fallout is that, see, you don't get those gems that often. And of course, I mean, whenever you get a rare weapon, that's awesome, you know. The higher the level of the weapon, or the better the enchantment that weapon armor possesses, the cooler, granted. But in Fallout, other than rare weapons and other than gold, you get ammo. And the thing about ammo in Fallout is that it is always needed and will always be needed. I guess if you're having, like, I don't know, if you're like a melee-based character, then yeah, okay, fine, you're not gonna use it. But for 80% of the case, I don't know how many of you guys actually play with melee weapons, but most of the time I will argue it is something that you will always need and something that you probably need at the moment and you will always need in the future. So every time you open it, it just feels good. It feels like, oh, thank God I got the ammo for this one weapon that I really needed, right? And then on top of that, you got stim packs, which cost a fortune to buy in the game. So every time you get them, it's like awesome. And food, which is my other point. Skyrim, I don't like alchemy in Skyrim. And I'm not sure how many of you actually like cooking in Skyrim without mods, granted, no mods here. How many of you actually like the vanilla cooking in Skyrim? Because I think it's complete and utter garbage. I don't think alchemy is as much garbage as cooking, but I think it's still pretty bad. And the reason for this is, let me explain it here before you guys get upset. You don't need to do it. It feels completely useless. And the reason for that is it is so much easier to get gold in Skyrim than it is to get in Fallout. And maybe it's probably because I know a lot about Skyrim, so I know how to get gold, but it is very easy for you to get gold in Skyrim. And on top of that, potions are really not that expensive, and you can get them anywhere. You can go to Riverwood, Whiterun, Solitude, Falkreath, anywhere you can get them. If you know, obviously, what store sells them. But if you do, and if you go into it, you can get them. And they're very cheap. And after a run through most of the cities, you'll have more than you can handle for at least a couple hours of gameplay. Which is, by the way, something that you can't really do in Fallout 4 because they're a lot more expensive. But my point is, getting potions is not that hard. So making them, at least to me, feels like 3 times as hard and 10 times more inconvenient, because it's not as easy as just like, all right, grab this one item and then you can make potions. Like, no, you have to grab like maybe 2 or 3 different items and you have to know exactly which items those are to make them. It's a confusing mess. And food doesn't even heal you as much, so it's not even worth talking about food, because honestly, I think it's completely garbage in Skyrim, the food. And then obviously you have healing, magic, which is extremely good. And since the healing magic is, I mean, honestly, just fantastic in Skyrim, there's really no need to even make potions in the first place. And you can even just not even buy potions and just rely on your healing magic, and that might just be good enough. So my point is, alchemy is useless, I think, in Skyrim. But the thing about Fallout is that stim packs are not that good, and they're extremely expensive, and you kind of need them you need to not spend them, because they're the only thing that can cure you in the middle of the road if you like break your arm or your head. So you really need to stockpile them, and you need to make sure that you always had them, because if you don't and you break your head, you are fucked. I mean, my God, you are fucked. So you really do need to stockpile them. So you need to find other ways to heal yourself, and that's where food comes in. The food in Fallout, I mean, if you get something decent, it'll probably heal you for maybe 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 times what a stim pack would heal you for. So they are amazing, and what makes them so great is not just that, but it's the fact that they're so easy to make, like meals. Because all you have to do is, you kill a dog, you get the dog's meat, you go to a cooking pot, and you cook the meat. Like, that's it. You don't need any crazy things like, oh, combine this meat with like 2 different herbs, and then, you know, maybe like a match. No, you don't need any of that. All you need is the meat, and with that meat, you make the steak, period. And then that steak that you make is obviously gonna give you experience, but which is also great. But the steak will heal you for possibly way more than the stim pack would even heal you for. So you really want to loot it. You really want to go and loot the goddamn dog, because the reward that you get from doing that is amazing, and you kind of need to. And that's, again, I'm bringing it back around. It's the beauty of Fallout 4. The looting system is amazing. You always want to loot everything. Then if you kill just a little level 1 dog or something, you want to loot it, because the meat is going to be useful. You see a raider over there, you want to loot him because he'll have ammo, and he'll probably even have a stim pack with him. So you really want to do, and even if the armor that he carries is garbage, which like 99% of the time, you really don't want to loot the armors that the raiders have. Even if they have shit that you don't want to loot, they will always, almost guaranteed, have something that you want. Right? And again, added to the fact that you can just pick random garbage like plates and cups from like, I don't know, toolboxes and shit, and still have them being useful. It's just a plus, right? So I feel like that's where Fallout 4 really just kind of nails Skyrim. That looting system is amazing. But let's bring it back now to Skyrim, because this is the other topic that I want to talk about, and that is the world feeling like a living, breathing world. And that's where Skyrim completely breaks Fallout. See, Skyrim is amazing for immersion. And let's not even talk about story, because I don't want to talk about story because I haven't really finished Fallout as far as the story is concerned. Although I already can tell that Skyrim blows Fallout out of the water with story. Skyrim is just unstoppable in that sense. I mean, I've made the channel just because of the story. It's that great. But I'm not talking about the story. I'm talking about how the world feels like it's living, almost like it's real. Obviously, it's not real, but it feels as if it's so deep that it has a life of its own, if that makes any sense. Like, you can be walking around in Skyrim and you feel like those are people. You see somebody on the street, and that guy has history, that guy has lore, that guy has a fucking name. And that's my actual point that I'm trying to drive home. Characters in Fallout, a lot of them don't have names. I don't understand why that is. Why? Like, you will go to the Diamond City, which is the main city in Fallout, and you will just find a random person in the street. Guess what his name is? Settler. Like, what the hell? Why would you not give your character a name? Like, I understand that you want like a lot of people to just be like walking around the street to make the city look more, I guess, busy. But why would you not give them names? There's so many NPCs in Fallout 4 that don't have names, and it bothers me because it makes it seem like they're just soulless. Like, there's no story to them, no content, and you don't even have to add content to them. You don't even have to add like things. I'm sure there's a lot of Skyrim characters that have absolutely no quest attached to them. They're just there. But just the fact that they have names makes you recognize them. You know, you turn around from a store in Skyrim in Falkreath and you see that one guy. Oh, hey, that's X and X, like I saw him before. Like, you recognize the guy. They all look differently, you know? They all have their very specific look, but then you go into Diamond City and that's a settler. He looks just like this other settler. Oh look, that's another settler. He looks different, but he's just a settler. I'm sure they'll find another settler that looks just like him, right? Oh, it's so annoying. It makes it feel soulless, you know? It kind of ruins the immersion that Skyrim just triumphs over. And then on top of that, what Skyrim does beautiful is that there's so many cities, right? You have, again, I said, Whiterun, you have Riften, you have Windhelm. Oh my god, dude, Dawnstar, like there's so many cities. It feels alive, like everyone's trying to work together. And I mean, some cities, obviously because of the Civil War, some cities are like against each other, but it feels like there's an actual social, economical, political system going on, right? You go to a city and there's things happening. In Fallout 4, there's like the one city. And look, I know that there's like different outposts, and obviously I know that it's supposed to be a nuclear Fallout story, but I feel like there needs to be more, because I know that it is possible, right? If people are able to, I don't know, if raiders are able to converge into a really cool, like, I don't know, like go into a pharmacy and make something out of it, or go into a factory and make something cool out of it, then I don't understand why normal people cannot do it, right? You have Diamond City, which is amazing, by the way. I love that city. It's incredible, but why can't we just have more of that? Why can't we just have another big city and another big city, maybe at least 3 or 4? I saw the SS Constitution. I haven't been inside, and from the other Fallouts, I do remember some, you know, like the ship in Fallout 3, and I don't remember the name of the ship, and Megaton was awesome, and the tower, I think it was called, was awesome, but I feel like there needs to be more. Like, it's not enough to just have the 1 or 2 big cities. There needs to be like a community of like cities kind of like together doing things, you know? When you go out of Diamond City, everything just feels empty and soulless. All the raiders like somehow manage to thrive when everyone else can't. You know, and it's weird because apparently I can. I mean, it was so easy for me to just like grab a piece of land and just put my little like antenna or something and just be like, all right, people come on over, and suddenly have like a ton of Minutemen just joining. Like, can other people do that? And you might argue, well, there's no big cities because you're supposed to be the one making the cities, right? In the Minuteman quest line. But it's like, Sure, but the cities that I'm creating are soulless because nobody has a name. It's a little weird, and that's the part where I feel like Skyrim just like, oh, so good. You can't top Skyrim with that shit, man. Skyrim is the best on that. Now, the one thing that I'll say though is that in Fallout 4, and this is something that blew my mind, I feel like it has a lot of potential here. There's a location in Fallout 4 that I got there when I was like just starting the game, maybe like level 2 or level 3, and I got there, and I did a quest for this guy in this location where I'm trying not to spoil anything, of course. But, I finished the quest and I leave, and, 15 levels later or so, I come back because a guy was like, hey, there's some raiders that are bothering us, so could you please go there? And I saw the location, and I was like, hey, I've been there before. Okay, I know the layout of this place, I know I can work it out. But when I got there, the place was different, and I don't mean like, how sometimes in RPGs, like, dungeons, like, change, like, randomly, like, some hallways are different, or some door, no. I don't mean like a door was different. The whole place had evolved. So before, it was like this massive kind of lake, and I was supposed to do something to the water. I come back 15 minutes later, and the water is all drained. And that entire submersible place that was the water, the little lake, now is like empty, and you can actually go down there, and there's like this massive dungeon-like place where the water used to be. So it felt like the world had evolved, like the time actually passed as I was questing, which was amazing. It really blew my mind because there's so much potential to that. You've seen it in World of Warcraft. I don't know if you guys play World of Warcraft, I know a lot of you guys do. WoW does this thing where like you complete quests and the place evolved, right? If you like, I don't know, if you burn a forest, the game will make it so that when you complete the quest, the forest will be completely burned, and you don't get to see how it used to look like anymore because you did something and the world changed to kind of make sure that whatever you did actually had a real effect, right? Fallout is doing a little bit of that, and I love it. I don't know how much of it is there in the game because I'm really just starting. Let me see if I can find how much time. I played 38 hours, which honestly is like nothing for this type of games. So I'm still kind of getting in there. I don't know how much of that is there in this game, but if there is more, there's a lot of possibility there. But anyways, guys, been loving Fallout. I have been playing as much as I can. There were a couple of setbacks yesterday and the day before. I had to take Caitlin to the hospital, but she's okay. Don't you guys worry. But I couldn't really make videos, and I'm trying to get back at it, but there's so much to play. I feel like I want to really know what I'm talking about before I talk about it, and that's why I want to play a lot before I make videos. But I also want to give you guys content, so it's a little problematic. But I hope you guys are enjoying the game. I'm hoping that a lot of you guys are playing it because it's amazing. And for those of you who are skeptical about Fallout and you only play Skyrim, trust me, it's amazing. It's not as immersive as Skyrim is, but don't be thrown away by the fact that there's like guns and shit. Like you can go melee and have a completely good time, because I know that my wife, she's very bad at like first person shooters, so she was thrown away. Like she didn't want to play Fallout because of that, but it's nothing like that. It's not like a typical first person shooter. You could totally do it. So I want more of you to go in there and play, because it's been an amazing experience. Anyways, guys, hope you had a good day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.